Most of you all watching this would have a PlayStation, Xbox, or a PC set up at your place for the sole purpose of playing games. How do we know this? Studies show out of 7.67 billion people on the planet, 36% are gamers. But have you ever thought how much money game developing companies have spent on making your favorite video game? No worries, today we are counting down our picks of the 10 most expensive games ever made. Number 10. Halo 2 2004. The Halo 2 is a first-person shooter game released in 2004, which was developed by Bungie and published by Microsoft Game Studios. The Halo 2 is the sequel of the critically acclaimed Halo Combat Evolved. The Halo 1 was a commercial success and is said to be one of the greatest game ever made. Due to this, the pressure on the developers was high for Halo 2, so an estimate of $120 million was spent for making the game, which made it the most expensive game made at that time. Another interesting fact was in order for the Halo 2 game to be released at the fixed time, the Bungie studio had to sacrifice another ongoing work called Phoenix, and the entire team who were working on Phoenix was put to work on and finish Halo 2. All of their hard work paid off when 8 million copies were sold worldwide and generated a revenue of $125 million in 24 hours. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button. Number 9. Final Fantasy VII 1997. Final Fantasy VII is a 1997 role-playing game developed by a company called Square, exclusively for the PlayStation console. It was the 7th installment in the Final Fantasy series. Most of you would be thinking how a 1997 game ended up in the most expensive games list. Here's why: even though only $40 million was spent for developing the game, almost $100 million were spent in marketing. The game was published in Japan by Square and in other regions by Sony Computer Entertainment. This game was known as a pioneer of 3D graphics in the 90s. In the game, you could play 7 characters who are naturally obtained throughout the course of the game, with a character named Cloud Strife as the main playable character. The game also featured 2 secret characters which you can choose to play with or completely ignore. In 2020, a remake version of the game was also released. Final Fantasy VII became one of the most-selling games. The remake of the game sold over 3.5 million global units in just 3 days, whereas the 1997 version sold an amazing 13.3 million copies worldwide. Number 8. Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2018. The Shadow of the Tomb Raider is the 12th mainline entry in the Tomb Raider series. The video game falls into the action-adventure game. The game was released worldwide and was compatible in several platforms, which include Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. And in November 2019, the Mac OS and Linux versions were released. This game cost almost $110 to $135 million in the making. The Tomb Raider game came out with much hype and sold over 1 million copies in just 48 hours after being released. The blockbuster movie Lara Croft was the biggest promotion the game ever needed. The latest upgrade of the game lets players enjoy the game in 4K 60 FPS. The Shadow of the Tomb Raider received a lot of praise for how accurate the graphics of the game was, and all this became the reason for the widespread popularity of the game. Number 7. Destiny 2014. Futuristic games have a fan base of their own. Destiny is one of those futuristic first-person shooter games set in a persistent world. The game was developed by Bungie and was previously published by Activision. With high-end graphics and a really intuitive gameplay, the Destiny quickly became the favorite game of so many gamers. The Destiny game cost a staggering $140 million to make. The game is considered to have evolved a long way since its 2014 release. The most amazing fact is that they were able to make $325 million in just 5 days after being released. That's honestly a huge amount in such a short time. Number 6. Marvel's Avengers 2020. There is no doubt that the Avengers movie was one of the best in the world and was a huge profit-making franchise, so fans worldwide had huge expectations for a game which was based on the movie. The Marvel's Avengers is a 2020 action role-playing game which was developed by Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix's European subsidiary. The game featured all of people's favorite heroes like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Thor, Hulk, Hawkeye, Black Panther, and the crowd favorite Spider-Man. The game also featured 2 latest characters in the Marvel Universe, Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop. The game was made using $170 to $190 million and it's still counting. This game was the 7th best-selling title as of August 2021 and sold 2.2 million digital units on its launch month. This game fulfilled the dreams of so many gamers by giving them a chance to play as their favorite adventure. Now we've reached the top 5. All the rest of the 5 games have been evaluated at an expense budget of more than a whopping $200 or $200+ million. Let's check out which games these are. Number 5. Star Wars: The Old Republic. There is nobody in the world who doesn't know the Star Wars franchise. The movie series was one of the most famous series that was ever made, with millions of fans all around the world. It was the undying dream of so many fans to play a game which features the Star Wars universe. Their prayers were finally answered by EA Games on December 20th, 2011 with the release of Star Wars: The Old Republic. The game was released on Microsoft Windows platform in North America and parts of Europe. However, the game was only released in Asia on March 1, 2012. The Star Wars: The Old Republic cost a massive $200 million in development. This is 20 times the budget of the first Star Wars movie, A New Hope. EA Games was able to sell 2 million units of the game, and this game still sits at the top 5 most popular free games on Steam. Number 4. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009. The Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is an FPS game released on November 10, 2009, Activision. This game was the direct sequel of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. The game is optimized to play on PC, PlayStation 3, and the Xbox 360. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 received praise from various gaming websites and attained a score of 94% on Metacritic. The major attraction of the game was its in-depth multiplayer feature. The cost of making the game was $250 million, where only $50 million was used for development and the rest of $200 million was used in marketing the game. Activision was able to sell a staggering 4.7 million units within 24 hours of the launch, and as of 2020, it has sold 25.02 million units in total. Number 3. Grand Theft Auto 5. On number 5, we have one of the most popular games ever created. This game is the 5th installment in the very famous GTA franchise. GTA 5 is an action-adventure game which was released in 2013. GTA 5 has been developed by Rockstar North and was published by Rockstar Games. The fact that this game continues to sell well, despite being made more than 9 years ago, is unbelievable, and the main reason for this is the constant updates that online mode of this game gets. The storytelling methods that GTA Games has adapted has a direct link with it being called the best game ever. The cost of making an epic game like GTA 5 was $265 million. As of November 2021, Rockstar has sold an incredible 155 million units worldwide. No wonder everyone likes GTA games so much. Number 2. Cyberpunk 2077 2020. Cyberpunk is an action-adventure open-world role-playing video game developed by CD Projekt Red and published by CD Projekt. Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the most anticipated games ever, with fans waiting 8 years for its release. It's rare that anything lives up to the hype that this game got. Part of the reason for all this hype was because Keanu Reeves had a major role in it. Crowds went crazy when the trailer of the game was first released, and hopes of gamers was immensely high. On December 10, 2020, the $313 million game was released. But things changed after the game was released. Cyberpunk was getting a lot of bad criticism, and the major reason was the gameplay. The gameplay of the game was uneven, the AI of NPCs were bad, and the game had a huge amount of bugs. People also hated the fact that a game with this big of a budget was not compatible with last-gen consoles. However, the game managed to sell an amazing 18 million copies. Number 1. Red Dead Redemption 2, 2018. And the first place for the most expensive games ever released goes to Red Dead Redemption 2. This game is an action-adventure game developed and published by Rockstar Games in 2018. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a prequel to the 2010 Red Dead Redemption. This game cost between $370 million to $540 million in the making. The game features a story about how Arthur Morgan and the Vanderlyn gang are forced to flee after a robbery goes badly wrong in the western town of Blackwater, and how the gang must rob, steal, and fight their way across the unforgiving terrain of America in order to survive with federal agents and best bounty hunters are right on their back. It is one of the best games ever built, with the graphics that high you can't recognize the real world from the real one. Rockstar Games sold an unbelievable 44 million copies of the game and broke several records when they earned $725 million in sales. It is truly one of the best and biggest games ever made. The most surprising fact is that almost all of the high-budget games we saw right now are absolutely free for us to play, and hats off to companies for finding ways to keep us entertained throughout these years. Is your favorite game on the list? Let us know by commenting down below. See you in the next video.